What's going on, y'all? Welcome to episode 1 of Dynasty Cards. So I teased this about a month ago, and I'm kind of just going to dive in here and show you a little bit about what I have in mind from a Dynasty and a cards perspective. And today, I'm going to talk about quarterbacks. Now that the NFL draft has taken place, we have players in landing spots and things like that. We can talk about multiple things within the quarterback position. We can talk about the rookies that just came in, and we could talk about the quarterbacks who had some of their situations change with rookies that they brought in or vets that they brought in during free agency and things like that. So I'm going to kind of break down my approach to quarterbacks at a dynasty fantasy football level and at a sports card investment level. Now, two things. One, I can't stop itching my nose. Two, um, my perspective is flawed, right? It's not perfect. I still feel like I'm a big time novice at this, albeit I've been successful. I'm not Ryan's Cards or Pac-Man or any of these guys who are flipping six figures and things like that. I'm still learning, and I still have so much to learn, but I have a process that I feel like can be helpful for those of you that are just like me and learning and kind of getting your own sports card grind and hustle off the ground. And then number three, I am a long form podcaster. So I have no idea if this is going to be a 20-minute episode or an hour episode. So find the parts that you like. I'll try to put details in the description below of kind of where you can fast forward to pick up some of the information you want, whether that's fantasy football or sports cards. So with that, I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to start by talking about just the top 12 NFL quarterbacks from a fantasy football perspective right now. And when I talk about dynasty, just to set the stage, I'm talking about super flex dynasty fantasy football. And if you're not familiar with Superflex, that's where you start a quarterback, you have a quarterback spot, and then you have a Superflex spot which you can start a second quarterback in. And you should always start a second quarterback there. And you don't always have to have three quarterbacks or anything like that. You could certainly start other players there if your quarterbacks are injured or on a bye and so on. But starting two quarterbacks is going to be the optimal strategy, and you want elite top tier quarterbacks that put points on the board. I know that that is not profound at all. So um, starting at the top with Patrick Mahomes, that's my number one dynasty quarterback, has been my number one dynasty quarterback for the last few years, and will continue to be my number one dynasty quarterback until somebody unseats him. Um, Patrick Mahomes is consistent. He is showing that he could play at a level like Tom Brady did with limited wide receiver talent around him. And he's as safe as they come. Uh, you know, as I kind of go through these, I'm not going to break down the obvious, right? We know about Patrick Mahomes, we know about Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, etc. But where I will pause is on folks that might have a little bit more of a kind of a polarizing approach. You may not know how you feel about that player, or have a differing approach, or from a market standpoint, their cards may be significantly down. For example, Trevor Lawrence. I have Trevor Lawrence in my top 8, probably closer to my top 6. His cards right now, his silver prism and his base prism, are actually going above Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow right now. To me, everybody is buying Trevor Lawrence. He's the new hotness. And for good reason. I actually think that Trevor Lawrence is a successful quarterback. He's going to continue to be a successful quarterback. He's going to break the curse of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That said, for me, this is not an opportunity to buy. What it is an opportunity to buy is 2021 sealed product. You know, his Prism Silver is going for over $2,300 in PSA 10. 2021 Prism Blasters are still in the $30 to $35 range. They're still at retail, essentially, if you're buying in bulk. So that's a huge discrepancy. Go look at 2020, where Joe Burrow's cards are less than Trevor Lawrence right now in some aspects. There's others that are probably more still, but less than Trevor Lawrence right now. And you can't buy 2020 wax without spending an arm and a leg. And then when you open it, you feel sick to your stomach, you know? So there's essentially an opportunity there to kind of capitalize. I can't figure out how to get my hat straight. There we go. To kind of capitalize on some inefficient pricing in the market around folks like Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. So for me, Trevor Lawrence, not somebody I'm actively buying, but I am actively acquiring anything I can in terms of 2021 sealed product, namely Optic retail, Prism retail. Prism Hobby is still pretty expensive, and probably Optic Hobby as well, although I haven't checked Optic Hobby in a while. But those are things that if you want to get shares of Lawrence without buying shares of Lawrence, buy sealed product. That product will ascend as Fields and Lawrence continue to do what they've done in the past year. Expectations are high on them, and so that would be my current approach, and is my current approach to getting access to those two players. So both Fields and Lawrence I have in my top 8. It would go Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Hurts for me, and then I would go. This is where it gets dicey. Probably in the same tier, I would go Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence, all in a tier of 4. And what that means is I really want to just take any of those 4 at the lowest cost. So typically I'm seeing Herbert fall to the back of that tier right now. He's not as sexy as he was whenever he first came out. And so I would just be kind of trying to, if you're in a startup draft, I'd be moving down to get to Herbert. If you have somebody like Lamar Jackson, I would just see if I could get Herbert plus for Lamar Jackson, and kind of move within a tier. I've done the opposite. I've tried to move from Herbert to Lawrence and see if I can get a plus on the Lawrence side, but he's already passed in most dynasty, like in most valuation circles, including the card market and dynasty. He's already passed Herbert, so you can't do that. But if you're a Herbert believer, you could certainly go the other way and trade Lawrence for Herbert plus. So those are some things. So you know, from a dynasty perspective, you know, if you look at players instead of in a like a numbering rank, you look at player, you know, 1 through 10, right? I really want the number 1 overall quarterback. I don't want the 10th quarterback. Some of that 100% makes sense, right? Who do I have here at number 10? Somebody like Dak, Tua, somewhere in that range. Let me see who else. Deshaun Watson around 10, Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray. Those folks are all kind of creeping up there to the back of QB1, early QB2. Russell Wilson is on that list, but I don't have him that high. Like, yes, there's a huge discrepancy between Mahomes and those folks. I don't necessarily advocate breaking down somebody in a top tier like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, or Jalen Hurts to fall down a full tier and accumulate depth, because you really want to be at the top. But trading within a tier, I completely would suggest as a way to kind of stack value, and I'll do that as often as I can. Let me see if I can pull up any recent trades. I don't think I have a lot of quarterback trades. I guess that's not true. I do have a lot of Anthony Richardson type trades. So let me see if I can kind of illustrate some Anthony Richardson trades and go from there. Let's see if I can quickly do it. Don't want to sit on the clock here. Transactions. There we go. Okay, so I traded. Wow. Ah, there we go. Okay, I was like, doesn't feel like I gave up a lot. I traded a 2024 first. Looks to be about mid, to be honest with you. The 2023 106, and this is a super flex league. The 2023 204 and a 2023 305. And I received Anthony Richardson, the 206 and the 312. So the main piece of that is I gave up 106, which ended up being Jackson Smith and Jigba, and a future a future first, essentially, to get Anthony Richardson. For me, that's a no-brainer, like super easy. I would do that 10 out of 10 times. Anthony Richardson is a polarizing prospect. He's all over the board. But wide receiver is largely replaceable. I haven't done a lot of I have not done any dynasty cards. But whenever I was doing Dynasty Addicts and the Commish podcast, one of the things I would say is we have 36 wide receiver ones in the NFL, and I stand by that. There is an insane amount of deep talent at wide receiver. And now there's not 36 Justin Jeffersons, right? There's not 36 Jamar Chases or even AJ Browns and some of those guys at the top. But in terms of like Drake London, Chris Olave, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, I'm just naming people that pop into my head. They fill out this wide receiver 6 to 30 range. And, they're spaced out by 2 to 3 points per game tops. And those can matter at times, but, it's the ceiling that you really need. And so what gives me the most ceiling? Jackson Smith and a Jigba, and a random future first, or Anthony Richardson in a super flex league that is going to run the football with an organization that seems to, in history, have it figured out in a roundabout way. And I am a homer, so take that with a grain of salt. But I know what the Colts look like in the news, and I know what the Colts look like behind the scenes, just having been connected, to them for 20 years. But yeah, I think that, making deals like that to move up the board at quarterback makes a lot of sense. There's another one that I made, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's very similar. I moved Trey Lance in the 106, and I think the 203, and I got back Anthony Richardson and the 202 or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but again, Trey Lance has been in the league now. This is his third year. He's getting beat out by Mr. Irrelevant and a lot of bad press and things like that. So being able to restart with a guy who has a safe floor and, this ceiling is Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts type of player, that's just a no-brainer. So that's kind of my approach, to quarterback. And again, this is like, this episode is kind of an unorganized, like I'm just going to talk through kind of different strategies and things like that. And I'm going to do that for each position. So you'll kind of hang with me a little bit on just philosophy, right? This is just, that's largely what this is. And then as I kind of create more episodes, there will be a lot more specificity. of, okay, let's talk about these 3 players, let's talk about trades, and let's talk about the sports card market. Right now, I really just kind of want to spiral with you guys, if I'm being honest. So, quick plug, if you're not familiar, I do have a Dynasty Cards. This logo is my Twitter handle, it's my Instagram, and I do have a Facebook group. I'm in the process of filling an NBA break, so I was just responding to a question on how many are left for the break. So super pumped for that, and I'll be filling breaks kind of about 4 times a month. Nothing huge. I'm not churning out hella breaks. So, from a sports card perspective, what I've been looking at, you know, I want to be in on Trevor Lawrence. I have right here in front of me a couple of base Trevor Lawrence cards. I don't know if these are going to show up. A couple of base Trevor Lawrence cards. Nothing spectacular. I pulled his base rookie the other day, which I was really excited, but it was quite a bit dinged, so was not very pretty. PSA 10 of, I'll just pull it up really quick. PSA 10 of this card is going for like $300. $300 for a base PSA 10 Trevor Lawrence. Think about that when you're looking at Prism Wax and the prices of Prism Wax. Now, you can't pull a Trevor Lawrence every pack like you can in Select, but it's a huge difference when you're thinking of like, how do I get shares of Trevor Lawrence without spending $300 on a base card? You know, fractional investing is really popular. It's kind of dying right now in the sports card market. Well, if you're buying sealed wax, and wax is blaster boxes, mega boxes, hobby boxes that Trevor Lawrence is attributed to, you're getting shares of Trevor Lawrence without actually buying Trevor Lawrence. As Trevor Lawrence ascends, the value of that box is going with him. And if Justin Fields continues to ascend, that's 2 people driving up the value of the box. You already know Jamar Chase is going to be epic. So you already know you have a wide receiver that's elite in that class. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been excellent. He's looking great for that class. Who else? Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. These guys have all been driving the class up as a whole. You have an elite level defender that's associated with that class. So 2021 sealed product is relatively safe. Now, it's not safe around me because I can't stop ripping it, but it's something that you get fractionally invested in Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence if you don't want to buy them outright. You have to hold, and you have to time the market, and you have to sell. If Trevor Lawrence makes a deep run in the playoffs, selling those boxes in the playoffs, you'll make good money. I paid in 2021 during the playoffs. I bought several, I can't remember, maybe a dozen. I bought about a dozen boxes of 2020 Prism and Optic. And I think I paid $90 a blaster or so. And as the Bengals made their way to the Super Bowl, I was selling at $120 plus a blaster, 120, 125. I think I even got to 130. So I was making $40 a blaster, and I bought $90 a blaster I paid in the beginning of January, and I was selling at the end of January. So a huge uptick, and that's the type of thing you can see with 2021 wax. And so that's something that I've been considering in terms of like my current sports card journey is buying secure shares of wax so that I can have better exposure to the 2021 class as cheaply as possible. But from a specific standpoint, what stands out to me right now is that Jalen Hurts continues to be undervalued. And let me look at really quick. Let's see if I can, I don't know if I have my login saved here or not. Hopefully. Sweet. Let's look at Jalen Hurts 2020 Silver Prism. So 2020 Jalen Hurts, come on. 2020 Jalen Hurts Silver Prism. PSA 10. We'll do PSA 10. $790. Last sale, May 15th. Let me find one more. Come on. Not a lot of sales. 820. So right around $800. Jalen Hurts. The Jalen Hurts that just went to the Super Bowl and lost. The Jalen Hurts that's in the NFC, has elite weapons, an elite defense, added another running back weapon. In the NFC, where there's limited competition, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is $2,300 for his PSA 10. Do you think by the end of this season, with another deep run, that Jalen Hurts Silver Prism rookie cards are double minimum, $1,600? That's plausible to me. So that's what I've been looking at. My eyes are on Jalen Hurts, and I have some, and I will continue to acquire some. So this is the orange out of 199. This is a PSA 10 bronze. Those are both optic. I'm going to be heavily buying Jalen Hurts. Trevor Lawrence has to compete against Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson. Say what you will about him. That, you know, they're invested in him. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and I would say that's about the end of that list. From a playoff, like a true playoff perspective, Pittsburgh could make a push. I don't really see Vegas doing it. I don't see New England doing it. So yeah, that's a lot to compete against. Jalen Hurts, I mean, besides just waltzing into the playoffs, in my opinion, he has to compete against Justin Fields, who's still extremely raw, and I don't think that roster is ready. Tua, Miami, for that's another one. Miami's a great team. So Jalen Hurts then has to complete in division against Dallas, who is good, but with their coach wanting to go back to ground and pound and things like that, like I just don't see that being this massive recipe for success. Sure, they'll be in dogfights, but trying to use the ground game to beat Jalen Hurts twice a year doesn't seem like a recipe for success. Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, no, not doing it for me. Geno Smith in Seattle, like that team looks really good. Pete Carroll's great coach, so sure. Jared Goff in Detroit, good looking team, good story. And then, San Francisco. That's really it. And if you're not sure if you don't know who Warren Sharp is, I suggest following Warren Sharp. Warren Sharp put out some really good information last week or this week and talked about strength of schedule, but also talked about rest. San Francisco has the least rest between NFL games this season versus the entire field. Now, the Eagles have a relatively tough schedule this year. They are not getting like a plus, a big plus on the rest side either. But their path to the playoffs is just, it's too easy. And we're not talking about a team that's mediocre and Jalen Hurts is carrying them like a Lamar Jackson kind of team. We're talking about an elite level defense, a insanely talented offense. Jalen Hurts for me is the top buy. And as I'm like talking this through, my gut says I just need to end the call or end this recording and freaking go buy Jalen Hurts. Like that's how like serious this is. There's a massive discrepancy. And I don't know why. I really don't. Like, people talk about race and things like that. I really hope that people aren't that stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I really hope that people aren't that stupid because um doesn't matter the color of your skin. The dude is an excellent athlete, an incredible leader, has been a winner throughout his entire career. If you're stupid enough to depress a player's card because of the color of his skin, like you're gonna lose. You'll just lose every time. So yeah, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the buy in the top 10. Behind him is Watson for me. But how comfortable do you feel buying Deshaun Watson? Not from a perspective of like morals, not from a moral perspective. You got to throw that out when we're talking investments. Just in general, how secure do you feel that asset is? Now you can buy a PSA 10 silver from 2017 for about $200 right now. I think I got 2 of them for 100, so I'm already plus on that. But this isn't a Peyton Manning situation where he was off for a year because of an injury and things like that. This is an elite quarterback that spent 18 months out of the game, and during the entirety of those 18 months, he went through hell in the media for whatever he did or did not do, alleged, proven, whatever. Clearly there was an issue there. Clearly there was foul. Like he did commit some sort of foul, heinous act, regardless of what the judicial system said. He mentally had to endure all of this. So this is not a guy to me that is just going to come in and he's like, okay, well, knock the rust off last season. I'm back at it. Now, I do think that there's a ton of upside. His price is super depressed. I think that, you talk about a lottery ticket, just go buy a PSA 10 Silver Prism from 2017. Pop count is lower than some of these newer ones. He was a perennial top 5 quarterback for the first 3 years of his career. The Browns are committed to him. He's not going anywhere. Everything's guaranteed. So he's going to have every opportunity to succeed there. Again, odds are against him because he's playing in the AFC, and odds are against him because people hate him. Regardless of his prowess in the NFL, people absolutely hate him. So invest with caution. I have a small investment in Deshaun Watson, and I'm not really necessarily looking to build on that unless something comes my way. But those are 2 quarterbacks in the top 12 from a sports card market investing that I'm interested in. In terms of Dynasty, Jalen Hurts is QB3, QB4 for most people. So for some reason, the Dynasty community has him valued higher, but the sports card community doesn't. And those don't always correlate because fantasy points doesn't always equal success, but the dude has been successful, right? So there should be that correlation there, and we're not seeing it, right? So it correlates with Fields. Let's see what Justin Fields silver prism is. 2021 Justin Fields. If his is higher, I will die. If not, okay. So for comparison, Fields versus Lawrence, about 520. about $520. So massive difference there. A lot of room for growth. He's going to need to make the playoffs, be in an MVP race for sure. And again, that's why, if you believe in Fields, you can invest in those cards affordably versus Lawrence. But big money's on Lawrence, and that's because he has, a Peyton Manning type of ceiling of expectations, and that's always been around Lawrence. It's not something new that we didn't foresee. So other approaches with these upcoming rookies. So 3 rookies that came in. I'll be investing in Anthony Richardson just as a personal collection. But his immediate return to me is the highest. He's going to get out there and he's going to flash in terms of what he can do with his legs. He's going to create highlights and things like that. He's also going to throw bad interceptions. He's going to make stupid decisions that are going to frustrate people. I don't know how reactive folks will be in that regard. And honestly, I don't know if in the sports card market, will he be QB3 or will he be QB1 like he is in the Dynasty market? But I'll be invested in him. And that's kind of just it from a rookie perspective. I have 2 other players I want to talk about, and then I'll kind of close out. Let me think of, so gosh, I could talk about a bunch more players, to be honest with you. So I'm going to talk about Ritter, and then I might talk about multiple players here. So let me look at Ritter. So I'm on the fence with Ritter. I really don't know what I am going to do or want to do. Ironically, I feel like this is a sign, and this is so silly, but I just opened a blaster today and I pulled Ritter's Silver Prism rookie, and it's clean. I'm going to send it off to get graded. It's definitely a 9, but definitely has a chance to be a 10. I'm going to look it over a little bit more. I don't know that I'm a believer in Desmond Ritter long term, but this is a player. I'm going to pull up his stats. This is a player that we know they're committed to in 2023. They're going to give him a chance at the job. Last year, he completed 63% of his passes. 2 touchdowns, really, really low touchdown percentage. Probably played a relatively vanilla game plan. The Falcons were kind of, I just want to see if he had any rushing. Not a lot. 16 carries for 64 yards. That's really, really low for a quarterback. So where I'm going with him is he has an elite running back. He has an elite rushing offense. They were top tier last year with Tyler Algier. It's only going to get better this year. He has an immensely talented wide receiver that flashed elite level athleticism and production last year in limited samples. He has an elite level tight end weapon who had top 1% rookie season for tight ends. The tangibles are there for that team to grind out wins and win a really weak division with Desmond Ritter at the helm. Desmond Ritter is almost dirt cheap right now. You know he's going to get the full season unless he's just absolutely terrible, which I don't expect him to be. I don't expect him to be absolutely terrible. They'll probably open up the playbook with him. He's not going to pass a ton. the offense is gonna flow through Bijan. But if that offense is as successful as at running the ball as they were last year, scoring opportunities will be there, and scoring opportunities equals fantasy points and it equals statistics. From my perspective, I think that Ritter has a long way up to go. And he's a better investment than someone like Kyle Trask. I think he's a better investment than Sam Howell. I don't think he's a better investment than like Purdy, or even Kenny Pickett, to be honest with you. I think he's better than Will Levis. So the problem is like, is he Davis Mills? That's the biggest problem. And I think the answer is no. I think the Falcons can win enough games. Literally, they can make the playoffs. I think the Falcons can win enough games. They can make the playoffs. And that could create an opportunity where Ritter is successful and gets to remain a starter. Because they're not going to have a top tier pick like the Texans did this year. So from my perspective, like in terms of like a 10x kind of guy, Desmond Ritter could be that, but you need to temper expectations. You know, don't go out, spend what you can, right? Spend what you can afford. You know, buy the right cards and things like that. And time the market, right? Last year, I bought a 1-of-1 Contenders Optic gold vinyl on card Michael Pittman Jr. signature in the summer. I felt like I stole it, like $300. It was mint. I was so close to sending it off to get graded, but I didn't really want to grade a 1-of-1. And I posted a picture of it, excited to have acquired that. My plan was that he was going to ascend in season with Matt Ryan, which the wheels fell off on that. And he was going to be, you know, that card was going to go from $300 to $1,000 or $1,500. That was my thought. That was my kind of projected out. But I posted a picture of it and I got a $750 offer. I'm talking the day that I received it from buying it for $300, I got a $750 offer. I mean, if you have an opportunity to make a profit on your investment, even though you think that there's a ceiling, you know, 750 is half of my target, half. 1,500 was, you know, something that I thought was a realistic outcome. Even though that's something you project, we saw what happened. Colts fell apart. Matt Ryan was a freaking sloth behind that offensive line. The offensive line regressed. Colts couldn't keep the ball in their hands to save their lives, and Michael Pittman Jr. suffered because of that. And that card probably wasn't even worth $750 in season. So if you buy Desmond Ritter now, as the hype is growing for 2023 and cards are going to start coming out for the 2023 draft, as people are excited about Purdy and Pickett and these other players, Sam Howell, as you buy Desmond Ritter now, my suggestion would be have a diverse portfolio of him. Be prepared early now. And as the off-season hype train begins, as the season workouts begin, as the preseason goes, and the media does their thing, I expect Kyle Pitts is healthy. Everybody's excited about Kyle Pitts. Tight end 1 in dynasty leagues. Top 5 tight end in redraft. Drake London, top 10 wide receiver in dynasty and in redraft. Bijan Robinson, number 1 overall running back in dynasty. Top 5 running back in redraft. Maybe number 1. Desmond Ritter's got to succeed if all of that's possible. And so he will be carried up along with those other assets. And so in that moment, you can look at your portfolio and say, okay, I have 5 PSA 10 Desmond Ritter silvers, and I'm invested in those for 40 each or something like that. And in the preseason, they're selling for $100 each. Cash one out, take a profit. Cash two out, take a profit. Reassess. What is your overall investment goal in Desmond Ritter? Is he going to be the next Kirk Cousins in terms of a success story? Is he going to be another Dak Prescott? I know those guys were drafted in different rounds. I believe Kirk was the same round. Third. Like, is he going to be another one of those stories? Then you get to hold a couple more and wait and see where he ascends to. If you're not sure, start selling in season, take your profits, things like that. You know, the last thing I'll close this out with, because I spent a lot of time on Ritter. Two things. One, the more I think about this, the more I'm becoming certain that Purdy is actually going to be the guy in San Francisco. And there's a lot to like there. I don't know how this elbow injury will really affect him, but he came from a pro style offense in college. He came out and did everything you could want him to do in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and his offense is built for success. So I think Brock Purdy can be really, really good and a great hold there. He's expensive. Let's see what Brock Purdy's silvers are. I think he's probably pretty expensive compared to what you really want to invest. Brock Purdy. Wow. Oh, that's an auto. Whew. Oh, wow. Okay. That's not an auto. He's this. Wow. Jeez Louise. Brock Purdy is the same price as Justin Fields. So you got to be really careful there. If you don't want to spend that, stack some Prism sealed wax and just wait, which I might do more of. So the final thing I have here is, you know, when I first started doing sports cards, I thought I just needed to hold everything. I graded so much, and I thought I needed to hold it. And so I have one here. So this is LaMelo, PSA 9, optic out of 249 rookie. When I graded this, it came out a 9. It was still worth like $400. And right now, I think it's probably worth less than 200. I have a PSA 10 Anthony Edwards that was worth like 700, 600, 500. And right now, I think it's 250. So prices aren't always going to just go up and up and up. Make a plan for what you want to do. Identify the cards you really, really want to hold and why you want to hold them. And then just pocket profit on the other stuff. If you're talking, you know, I have a Trey Lance PSA 10. I'm going to make $40 on it if I sell it today. I don't really care to make that $40 right now. But I have another PSA 10 Trey Lance that I'm going to make $800 on if I sell it today. I want to sell that card, right? Like I don't need to wait for that to be worth $1,200. Like I would like to sell that card and pocket my 800 so I could keep doing this over and over again. And so kind of identify what you want to do. What are your targets, get in and out of? I use spreadsheets and things like that, and kind of plan from there. The way you can enjoy this hobby outside of personal collections, if you want to do the grind, which not everybody does, I freaking love it. I love ripping cards. I love hosting breaks. It's so fun breaking with new people that always break with me. Like it's just a blast. Like I love that. I love buying new cards. I love looking at them and I love selling them. I love the whole process. And not everybody does. But I do recommend like try to make a plan. I have, you see me grabbing cards. My desk is unorganized. Like I'm not an organized person in terms of clutter, but I am in terms of my overall financial plan with this process and this journey. So I'm gonna wrap it here. Again, long form podcast, all over the place, really messy, not really organized. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a good piece of content, whether that was from a Dynasty fantasy football perspective or sports cards perspective. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the channel. I'm not going to post these all the time. So I'd like you to watch it again for the next time I post it. Share it with a friend. This might be something that helps your friend in their Dynasty sports journey or Dynasty fantasy journey or their sports cards journey. Please feel free to share it with a friend and leave a comment. Tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like, whatever. And then finally, make sure you follow me on socials. So on Twitter, I am at Dynasty underscore, or sorry, at Dynasty Cards underscore. On Instagram at Dynasty_cards. And if you want to join my Facebook group, I have links posted to both of those platforms so that you can jump into the Facebook group, because I don't think you can search for it. So appreciate you hanging with me. Appreciate the feedback, and can't wait to do this again. Cheers, y'all.